Having understood the different modes of fracture, now let's move to the topic of how do we quantify the damage that can happen because of the presence of crack. In order to do that, we need some kind of parameter which defines the stresses around the crack tip. So let's understand how do we find that. If we assume a crack to be present under the loading, which is so this is the crack and it is subjected to the loading which is uniform sigma in both the directions. So we are considering a plate which is having a crack and the plate is subjected to equal stresses in both horizontal and vertical direction. In order to define the stresses, we are defining the x-axis as the one along the direction of crack growth and axis y which is perpendicular to the crack growth direction. We are considering a point which is at a distance r from the crack tip and at an orientation of theta with respect to the crack with respect to the x-axis. And the origin of this coordinate system is the crack tip. So with respect to crack tip, we are defining a point in polar coordinate system in r theta coordinates. And under the action of the stresses which are given here, the crack will undergo mode 1 type of fracture. So we are discussing here the nature of stresses in mode 1 type of fracture. The solution to this problem was obtained by using what is known as Westergaard stress function. So in this stress function, the values of sigma x, sigma y and tau xy, it is a two-dimensional stress field that we are talking, is given in terms of the expressions which are shown on the screen. The values of z direction stress, that is a stress perpendicular to the screen, depends on whether we are talking about plane stress condition when it is 0 or plane strain condition where it is given by the expression in terms of sigma x and sigma y. If you notice this equation, for example sigma x, it includes a term which is k1 divided by under root 2 pi r. So this k1 is something which is a different or new quantity that you observe here. The k1 is known as the stress intensity factor, or in short SIF. The subscript Roman 1 indicates the mode of fracture that it deals with. So here, since the solution is given in terms of mode 1, the stress intensity factor is called as K1. Similar solution exists for mode 2 and mode 3 and they would be termed as K2 and K3. Of course, in this course, we are not dealing with them. Let's understand this idea of stress intensity factor. In strength of material, we had the basic problem that you have a component which is subjected to some force P and we want to know whether it will be able to withstand that force or not. So in order to do the calculations, we do not operate on the force F directly. We introduce a new concept or new parameter which is called as stress. So we define stress as force per unit area and then we related this force per unit area or stress with respect to a material quantity which we defined as yield strength or ultimate strength, and that is how we design the components using the classical strength of material or solid mechanics approach. In fracture mechanics, similarly, in the presence of crack, if you want to establish the damage or what is the behavior of the material in the presence of crack and certain amount of loading, we are here introducing a new term which is termed as stress intensity factor. So this is a new parameter which helps us to understand. So in this case, you can see that using this parameter, the stress at any location around the crack tip can be obtained. So this parameter is something which is created specifically to understand various aspects such as the stress distribution or the displacement distribution around the crack tip. The second thing you observe here is all the stress components, sigma x, sigma y and tau xy, they are inversely proportional to under root r. So r is the distance from the crack tip. So as you can easily see, as r tends to 0, that is, as you approach the crack tip, the stresses tend to be infinite. So that is the way the LEFM approach predicts the nature of stresses. Practically, we know that the stresses can never reach infinite value. So that's correct. The stresses near the crack tip, once they cross the yield strength, a small plastic zone would be formed, and the LEFM approach assumes that this particular plastic zone is small enough so that the predictions, that is the stresses predicted by the Westergaard stress function, are still valid for such a problem, and it is found to be working for many of the important problems in engineering, and that is how this LAFM approach is useful. Let's investigate further into the concept of stress intensity factor. The stress intensity factor, as I just now showed, all the stress components are directly proportional to stress concentration factor, and they are inversely proportional to the distance from the crack tip. So this is known as the square root stress singularity. So singularity means at exactly at the crack tip you have got indefinite stress or infinite amount of stress. So this is one particular nature of stress that we know, that is the stresses around the crack tip, they are inversely proportional to under root of r, and K1 can be mathematically determined by using the value of under root 2 pi r into sigma y. It could be sigma x as well. So that is the denominator multiplied by the sigma term. So this multiplication, as r tends to 0, the product of these two numbers will give you the value of k1. So that is the mathematical definition of k1. What is the use of this approach? So how to obtain the stress intensity factor is we are going to discuss next. But assuming that one obtains this stress intensity factor for your case, or whatever case is under consideration, how do we proceed further to that is the equation which is given next. So that is the design basis for fracture mechanics. So in this case, the left hand side is the stress intensity factor, and the right hand side is a material property. So it is a material property which is termed as fracture toughness of the material. It is termed as K underscore 1 for mode 1 and C for critical, or the maximum value that material can sustain. So like in classical strength of material, we have the equation sigma should be less than sigma y, or sigma ultimate strength. So that is the equation we used in strength of material. We have equivalent of that in fracture mechanics, where we calculate in place of sigma, we calculate the stress intensity factor, and in place of material property, which is yield strength, which we can determine from the tensile test, there are certain tests which are used to determine the fracture toughness of the material. So using experimental method, one finds the fracture toughness. Using analytical and other numerical methods, one can calculate the value of stress intensity factor, and our design is safe in the presence of crack if the stress intensity factor is less than what the material can sustain, or the fracture toughness of the material, then the design is safe. So that is how we proceed. Let's have some more information about the stress intensity factor, or the features of the stress intensity factor. The condition that K should be less than or equal to K1C gives us the necessary and sufficient condition for failure. That means in the this K factor is something which tells us about the stress field in front of crack tip. and it it covers the crack geometry, that is what is the size of crack, what is the orientation of crack, and it also covers the load or the stress field around that particular crack. So it takes care of both load and crack geometry and gives us the stress and displacement and other features, and this single parameter can be used for all design calculations, and hence the stress intensity factor is an important parameter of fracture mechanics. By using this equation, we can make the theoretical answer like the Westergaard stress function what one obtains. It is not practically directly useful to practicing engineers in the sense it just gives a stress field, but whether those stresses are acceptable or not acceptable, how do we even decide? So it is not possible using just the theoretical distribution of stress. By incorporating the concept of stress intensity factor, the design engineer gets a quantifiable parameter with which to compare the material which is used for his component. Another importance of SIF is if you want to know how much is the total energy or total stress or total energy because of combined loading. So you have multiple loadings. So let's say you have a component which is having crack and it is subjected to mode 1 loading force. Again under mode 1 you have bending loading. So you have loading which is bending this particular beam. You will get K factor corresponding to axial force, the stress intensity factor corresponding to the axial force. So you will get K1. If this load is P, it will be K1P. Corresponding to bending moment, you will get another stress intensity factor K1, let's call it K1M. Using the Westergaard stress function or other approaches, you can obtain the stresses because of load. Similarly, stresses because of moment. When both of them are acting together, you can do superimposition of stresses, and similarly the energy which is used in the energy approach of the fracture mechanics, they can be superimposed for different load cases. So if you have crack which is subjected to multiple loads, then the stress distribution and the energy release rate can be obtained just by superimposing the equations corresponding to each of the load case. So that is one more advantage of the SIF concept. Although the stress, energy and also displacement can be arrived at by superimposition, in this case the K cannot be added except for some specific cases where you can add, like for example what the example I have given, where the axial load and moment are making mode 1 type of crack growth. So in such case, you can simply add the K1 of two cases together, but that is not in general true. Especially you cannot combine K1 plus K2, that is a mode 1 and mode 2 stress intensity factor to get the combined stress intensity factor. So just I wanted to clarify this particular point. Let's move ahead. How to obtain the stress intensity factor? So the stress intensity factors are obtained like stress concentration factor what we discussed earlier. So you have analytical solutions. You are using numerical solutions. So that is the finite element method. And you can also use the experimental or photoelastic method to obtain the stress intensity factors. So the methods which are applicable to stress concentration determination are same for the stress intensity factor determination as well. Since this topic, the fracture mechanics, is well established field as of now, lot of standard cases, the stress intensity factors are directly available in the form of data books. So some of the handbooks which give stress intensity factors which the design engineers needs is one popular one is Paris, Tada and Irwin. Second one by Murakami and third one by Rook Cartwright and fourth one by C. So these are the different handbooks which gives you under different fracture modes, under different types of loads and different types of cracks, the values of stress intensity factors. So if your case doesn't get covered by most of these, which is 90% of cases should get covered, then you will have to do your own analysis and obtain these stress intensity factors. But otherwise, most of the cases are available off the shelf. You can simply pick the formula for your case. The usual format of providing the stress intensity factor is in terms of this nominal stress around the crack tip sigma multiplied by under root pi a, where a is the crack size. So this is crack size, and y is known as the geometry correction factor. So it depends on how the crack is surrounded by the adjacent material, whether the crack, if it is in plate of finite width, what is the proportion of crack with respect to the plate width? So that proportion affects the value of stress intensity factor. So you will find that the stress intensity factor can be picked by using the appropriate solution. Let's illustrate this with an example. So next slide will show you stress intensity factor for center crack test specimen. So you have a plate which is subjected to stress sigma, axial pull sigma, axial stress sigma, and it is having a central crack of length 2a. So usually the crack length, if it is full size, that is having two crack tips, it is given in terms of the full width of the crack is 2a, and the cracks which are side crack or edge cracks, their length is termed as a. So under the 2a crack of length 2a, and where the width of plate is 2b, the value of stress intensity factor, as we have seen, is given in terms of sigma into under root pi a multiplied by the factor which is given in terms of ratio of a, that is a crack width, divided by b, which is the plate width. So this is nothing but the factor y, which we discussed, the geometric shape factor that we discussed in the previous slide. This factor is available either in the form of a table or in terms of a graph or both. So in this case, it is available in the both forms. So in the graph form, the horizontal axis is a by b, and the vertical factor contains factor a multiplied by some constant. So using this particular graph, like for example, in this case, one can see that these values are available for both all mode 1, mode 2 and mode 3. Mode 2 and mode 3 under certain conditions are applicable, are valid. So that is the way the stress intensity factor could be obtained. For your case, you have to identify a case which is defined in the handbook and then obtain the stress intensity factor in this particular manner. Another important thing which I want to bring out here is the unit of stress intensity factor. So note that the stress intensity factor is sigma, which is Newton per, that is a unit of stress, which can be MPa, and then under root pi a, where a is the crack length, so it is in meters. So the unit of stress intensity factor is something which is odd, which generally we do not see that in engineering calculations. So unit of stress intensity factor is MPa under root meter, or if you are writing fully in SI units, then it will be Newton per meter square multiplied by under root meter, or that would be Newton meter raised to minus 3 by 2. So that is the different ways in which the units of stress intensity factor are written. So that is what is to be considered. That is what is to be noted in the calculation. So when we are doing the calculations, we will further describe this particular sense of units. Before we move into actual calculations related to fracture mechanics, one more thing to be noted is the stress intensity factor we are comparing with the fracture toughness of the material. So fracture toughness of the material, it is experimentally obtained, and it is found that it is dependent on thickness. So if you determine the fracture toughness of the material and you plot the fracture toughness with the thickness on the horizontal axis, we have thickness of the plate. So you are considering a test specimen with, for example, H crack. It is having some thickness B, and it is subjected to, for example, mode 1 testing you are doing. So you will be subjecting it to a pull in the opening direction. If you plot the value of fracture toughness, that is the stress intensity factor at which the crack becomes unstable, that is this specimen fully breaks with unstable crack growth. So that determines the value of the fracture toughness. If you plot this fracture toughness, that is the stress intensity factor at which the material breaks, the fracture toughness specimen breaks, you will find that at lower thickness, the fracture toughness is higher. It reduces as the thickness increases, and beyond certain thickness, which is termed as critical thickness or BC, the fracture toughness remains constant. The thickness beyond which it remains constant is approximately given by the equation what is shown here. You need not remember this, that is for your reference. But what is important in that, in the calculations we use, that is in the design data book or the material handbooks, you will find that the fracture toughness of the material is not given in terms of this graph. You will find a single number, and that single number corresponds to the constant value of K1C beyond a certain thickness. So if you take the fracture toughness test specimen of sufficiently high thickness and do the testing, whatever fracture toughness value you get, it will be true for all high thickness test plates, and that is termed as K1C, and this particular term is called as plane strain fracture toughness. The term plane strain appears here because the stress field for thick specimens around the crack tip. So if you consider the behavior of the stresses around the crack tip, for very large thickness plates, the behavior matches with that of plane strain stress distribution, which is given by earlier Westergaard stress function. Whereas the stress distribution for thin materials, it obeys or it follows the plane stress distribution what is given in the Westergaard stress function. So for the purpose of calculations, one uses the value of K1C, and in general not KC, because that is not in general available in the data book. The thickness independent or the plane strain fracture toughness is what which is available in the design handbook, and that is what is used for the calculations. If you are having material which is of smaller thickness, anyway uses of plane strain fracture toughness is conservative, since that is the smaller than what would happen at the higher thicknesses. Now let's look at some numerical example which illustrates the use of this discussion.